What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Beyond the 90. It's been a while. Yes, we've did a recording, myself, Alex, and JT last time, but we've been saving for this one for a while. This is the award ceremony. So this is just going to be a fixture, some of the biggest awards, and because it's been a brilliant season, to be honest, all season. So we've got 12 awards. Let's have a look at the 12 awards for you to present, to you. Loads of different things, and we just before we kick off, I just want to say shout out to RS Graphics. I've left his link in the Twitter down below for the amazing thumbnail. I saw it on Twitter a while ago, and I messaged him kindly, say, "Could I have it?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So make sure you give him some love. Awesome guy. And yeah, fantastic work. So thank you so much for letting us use it. Anyway, but over to this, Alex. We'll get into each of the awards separately, but just a quick 30-second summary. How do you think the season's gone?
From watching my previous recap of what I thought the season was gonna, what we were gonna do in this season, I'm pleasantly surprised. If you told me that we were gonna win an FA Cup and get European football again this season, I would tell you you'd be crazy. So when you look at that, it's a very much of a positive. I'm trying not to focus in on that last game because if you look at that and solely that game, it's quite negative. So overall we did pretty good, minus that last game. So I still give it A-, A.
It's still been a fantastic season. Over to you, Ant. First of all, thank you for coming back. I mean, finally got internet issues, thought we'd have you a little bit now, but we're going to have you hopefully a lot more in over the summer and from here on out. But just your 30 seconds of how you think the season went in general.
It's a difficult one because it's like as Alex says, when you look at the start of the season, like we weren't particularly confident. I think I predicted we'd finish 8th or 9th or something like that. So the fact that we've got European football again, we've won the FA Cup, which is absolutely huge. It's brilliant. It's obviously the way we finished the season in the league was a bit disappointing for sort of such a strong position that we were in. But overall, I think it's got to be looked at as a positive season, qualifying for Europe again. And it's again what Brendan Rodgers is doing is he's building a project because really, when you look at this squad, it's like the starting 11 is brilliant, but the squad depth, that's where I think we really started to struggle at the end of it. So the fact that Brendan Rodgers was able to get so much out of some players that I don't think are at this level anymore, I think that's a huge credit to him and a huge credit to sort of where we're heading as a club.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. And again, there'll be a lot more, obviously, the strength and depth coming that you guys probably seen the rumors and stuff like that. We'll be touching on some of them over the coming summer. So make sure to stay tuned to the channel, hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff, because we're definitely going to keep you updated with all the Leicester City news that's occurring over the next few weeks. Anyway, let's get straight into the awards, ladies and gentlemen. So the first award, the most improved player of the year. Obviously, this kind of award speaks for itself. I don't need too much for explaining. There's been a lot of improvement this year from lots of different awards. I've tried to rope in as many friends of the show or people that have been on as possible. So the first person I'm going to hand over to is Rich, who's going to tell us his initial thoughts in a video. So I'll put it on screen now.
Most improved player of the year for me has to be Kelechi Iheanacho. His work rate has improved. Obviously his output has improved, not just with goals but also with the assists as well, and his obviously partnership with Vardy has just gone through the roof all but the last couple of games, so I'm really happy with that.
Anyway, a little bit still figuring it out as we go. Over to you, Alex. Rich says Kelechi Iheanacho. Do you agree? Is there anybody else? What do you think?
Rich said it perfectly. I would definitely have to add Nacho to that and be in agreement with him. If you told me, I think all of us wrote him off by December. We were sick and tired of him, just his work ethic. He just doesn't seem like he was going to fit with the club. And so by that time, we just wrote him off. He kind of surprised us, just with his explosiveness just coming into 2021. Most improved by far. I don't think without Nacho, with Vardy dealing with his injuries and dealing with his cold spells, I don't think we'd even be in a position we are now. I think I fully believe that without Nacho this season and the way that he's improved, I do not think we'd be in European football. I do not think that we would have won the FA Cup as well.
Yeah, he scored some important goals as well. So the Brighton goal, the last minute winner, and then obviously the goal that got us through to the final in in the beating of Southampton as well. Over to you, Ant. Do you agree with Kelechi Iheanacho, or is there anybody else you want to put forward? What are your thoughts?
There's so many players you could go for. You could say about James Justin, how brilliantly he's kicked on. You could say about Harvey Barnes, the improvement within him. Tielemans has gone up another level this year. And then I would say Fofana, like, it's hard to say he's improved, but he was a lot better than I think anyone was expecting him to be. But I think you can't overlook from Iheanacho, particularly after that Crystal Palace game. I think it was just after Christmas where he missed the penalty, and a lot of the fan base were saying we should get rid of him, look for someone else, and no one expected the turnaround that he had. Because I think a lot of us have known there's a good player in there, but no one could have seen how good and how lethal he was going to become in the second part of the season.
Yeah, he was absolutely sensational, to be honest, for the most part. And yeah, as you were saying, the way that he came from, especially looking at, as you were saying, Alex, with the Crystal Palace game, and as Ant was saying, Crystal Palace game with the missing a penalty, and then his confidence was flawed. And again, Brendan Rodgers deserved great credit for that. Found a new system, played them both when it could have just thrown in the towel there. I'll just go over to the analytics. We put these up on our Twitter, so if you voted in, thank you so much. And most improved player with 64% is Iheanacho. Then behind that, James Justin on 20%, and Harvey Barnes and Youri Tielemans on 7.7% as well. So it's a pretty tight gap. But apart from that, Alex, is there anybody else you want to mention as well? Because again, Ant says it as well. There's so many this season that have just upped their levels massively.
I don't think most improved player, but I want to add Wesley Fofana to that mix. I know he's only been here for one season, but from what we expected to get out of him to what we actually got and what we saw as like the final piece at the end of the season, what an incredible, growth over the span of this year. I think that's one way that you can look at it. He was really impressive at the start of the season, but what he was able to accomplish throughout the season into the final game of the season, just his adaptability and his potential and his attributes. Like, that's one thing that I focus in on. You can't look past Nacho or James Justin or even Harvey Barnes. But I know Fofana's only been here for a season, but he really did improve over this season. So that's one thing I want to say.
Yeah, that's a good point. And anyway, we're moving straight into the award that you're going to talk about, which is Young Footballer of the Year. Again, there's Leicester City have known to having a young squad. However, I've gone anybody that's under the age of 23, because otherwise you would be here all day. You're literally excluding the likes of Mark Albrighton, Christian Fuchs, Wes Morgan, Jamie Vardy. I think I've missed that one. Well, Kasper Schmeichel. Literally everybody else will be considered it. So for this one, I'm going to anybody under 23 years old. So hand over to you first, Ant. Who would be your vote for Young Footballer of the Year?
It's got to be Wesley Fofana. I know we've had a lot of good young players this year, but Wesley Fofana, the fact that he didn't get nominated in the Premier League's Young Player of the Year is absolutely ridiculous. He's been one of the best signings of the summer, not just for us, but across the whole Premier League. It's been absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that within the January transfer window, after he just signed, he was already getting linked to clubs like Man United and Real Madrid. That shows the levels that he was reaching already. And that was after about, 4 or 5 months he was getting linked to those clubs. So for me, it's got to be Wesley Fofana. But then again, saying James Justin also been brilliant, Harvey Barnes, Tielemans, but Wesley Fofana is right at the top.
Yeah, it's a brilliant shout. Over to you, Alex. Do you have anything else, or is there anybody else you'd like to mention as well?
I'm going to say James Justin. I know I was saying Wesley Fofana prior, but I think you got to give James Justin the the award here for me. What he was able to do and what he has done over this season. It's very unfortunate that his season ended with a horrible injury, but I would also include him in the list of players like Nacho, where if you didn't have performances like he had, I don't think you'd see where we are today in the standings and in the table. What he was able to do over the span of the season that he was healthy was something I don't think I ever expected from him. And just the sheer determination from him. He was given an opportunity when, Castagna was out, Ricardo wasn't fully fit. he was the guy, and he took it and he ran with it. And honestly, if he was, if he was fully fit full season, I 100% guarantee that he would be in the England squad for the Euros this summer. I think he would be one of the players for player of the season. I really do think that what he did with Leicester during the time that he was healthy this season made an incredible impact on the club.
Yeah, and you know what? I totally agree with you there. And to think that he's only, I think, 20, 21 as well. Obviously, he had that horrible injury that nobody, even opposition fans, don't wish that happened to him. And again, I totally agree with you. Just before we go on to the results of it, there's two players that I think need mentioning as well. One had a similar injury problem, and one of them, again, I think he's just upped his game, I think, massively as well, as kind of runners up to this. Harvey Barnes and Luke Thomas. And take your pick which one you want to start with, because both of them at times have been absolutely sensational, and both have increased their levels to perform, to outperform our expectations.
The thing, I'll start with Harvey Barnes, and I'd say he probably would be much more in this show if he played a full season like Wesley Fofana has. But the fact he picked up the injury partway through was a massive shame for him, because he was another one who was knocking on the door of the England squad for the Euros. But I'm really excited to see what he can offer next year with a full pre-season under his belt, and hopefully he can kick on massively. But then when you look at Luke Thomas, I think he's improved again massively this season, but he hasn't played enough to warrant sort of taking that off Wesley Fofana. And he's kicking on well though, and is definitely a good young prospect to have. But I still think Wesley Fofana wins this one hands down.
No, I agree with you. However, I just wanted to get them two in there because I think that both require a mention as well. Alex, any other thoughts on them two? Because again, some of the balls and some of the plays that they both of them been doing. I mean, at times, looking at the final of the FA Cup, where you've got Azpilicueta versus Luke Thomas, and he should have been all over him. And bearing in mind that Azpilicueta went on to win the Champions League. I mean, it's incredible what Luke Thomas has done. But Harvey Barnes as well. Have you got any other comments on that?
I think everyone forgets to mention that Luke Thomas was the one that fed Yuri Tielemans for the Yuri Tielemans goal in the FA Cup. Imagine putting that in your, you can put that on your resume, being like, oh yeah, by the way, I was the player that fed it over to Yuri so he could get the game winner to win us the FA Cup. Like, that's huge. I think, considering the fact that Thomas didn't play as much this season as I don't think anybody was expecting him to play. When he was called to play, he ran with it. There's some games that he wasn't 100%. He didn't look confident out there. But the games that he was on, he was fantastic. The fact that he like as you said, he matched up against some players that at the age of 19 you would not expect it, and he challenged them. And I think that's just something to look forward to in that type of player for the future. Harvey Barnes is another player where he improved dramatically. Like, he really did. And it really is unfortunate that he also faced the injury bug, because I really do believe that, a fully fit season with Harvey Barnes, a fully fit season with James Justin, you're talking about two players that were just absolute standouts all season long while they were fit. And we can talk about injuries all day long, but I think those two players especially would have made an impact in the final weeks of the season.
Yeah, I totally agree there. And just to kind of wrap this one up, we put it out on Twitter, and again, the three nominations that we had: Harvey Barnes, James Justin, Wesley Fofana. So with 8.8% of the votes, Harvey Barnes, 29.4% of the votes was James Justin, and the faraway winner, 61.8%, was Wesley Fofana. So congrats to Wesley Fofana on that one. Anyway, we'll move on to the next award, Achievement of the Year. Now, this is quite a straightforward one, in my opinion. But do you know what? The next person I want to hand it over to has been a big part of this show. It's helped us out massively as well. I'll hand it over to Glenn for this one.
Our biggest achievement was undoubtedly winning the FA Cup and finally making my boyhood dream come true. But I want to add to that the fact that we're now really mixing it with the big six. We managed to build over the last few years, and we're going toe-to-toe with these so-called big teams now, and on a budget that's much, much less than theirs. We were 9th in the list of estimated salary at around 74 million, and 11th in relation to transfer budget with around 61.5 million for the season. Next season, do I think we can do the same? You better believe it.
So I can't really argue with this one. Normally, the achievement of the season is something, but this one, and I mean, I can't even think of something to add for that one because Glenn summed it up brilliantly, and it also when he's been on here, he's talked about it so much. But what an achievement that was! And I mean, have you got anything else? Because I couldn't think of anything really that comes close.
It's the big achievement. I would have even said if we qualified for the Champions League, the FA Cup would have still been the big achievement. It's the trophy, but I've wanted to see us lift for as long as I can remember. So it's absolutely brilliant. And I think the fact that Wes Morgan got to lift it in his last game that he's going to play for the club's just like the perfect send-off for him.
Yeah, and what I love about Brendan Rodgers is he is a little bit of an old romantic in that sense as well, and he lets them do that. Alex, what were your memories of that? Because I can ask you for, is there any other one? But I think this one, as Ant said, it just speaks for itself, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, you kind of put me in a checkmate position. I can't really top this. Winning the FA Cup is something that we've been chasing for seemingly years. It's been forever, which is when it's crazy when you think about it. So, you can look at all the other achievements that we've accomplished this season. It's never going to come close, but I think, securing European football for the second year in a row is a statement in itself. Glenn said it perfectly. We are challenging the Big Six, and that's huge, and it's not just this one-off season. If we won the, if we managed to get into the European football last season, but this season, we didn't win an FA Cup, we didn't get into the European football, and we kind of finished around 9th or 10th, there'd be a lot of people that would be saying, oh, it was a one-off season. But the fact that we added a trophy that we've been trying to get for years and still managed to, obtain European football, it's a statement in itself. So, challenging the top six is another thing. But at the end of the day, nothing will ever come close to winning the FA Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing else to say. I think you smashed it, Alex. So, but somebody that didn't say very much, who wasn't going to say very much, said it brilliantly. So, yeah, I think we're going to give that to the FA Cup because there is nothing literally that would. I think that would come true, and it has this season. Anyway, moving on to the next award, which is underrated player of the season. So there's a lot of underdogs. Leicester City are known for their underdogs, and we've got the saving song that we play all over the place. The person I'm going to hand it over to this time would be Mark from It's 11. It's Heaven for Jamie Vardy podcast. Wonder who he's going to pick.
Listeners at Beyond the 90, I've been asked to do an underrated player of the season award this season. And my vote might get a few people sort of shaking their head, but I'm going for Kasper Schmeichel. Last game of the season aside, where he didn't have the greatest time. He's played 3 seasons in a row now for us, and he's produced some absolutely magnificent saves at times, none more so than in the FA Cup final this season. And in terms of mistakes, he's probably only made a couple. Unfortunately for him, they came aside at the wrong time. Another little stat on Kasper this season: it's the first season since we've been in the Premier League where he's not had a yellow card. So he's controlling that temperament of his. Great to hear him when there was no crowds there, cheering the guys up. And for me, he's a true captain. I don't care what they say about goalkeepers not being captains. He's our captain for the future for sure. Underrated player of the season, Kasper Schmeichel.
I'll hand over to you first, Alex. What are your thoughts on that? On what Mark said?
Surprising. You know how much I have really, praised Schmeichel over this season, saying he doesn't get the recognition that he deserves, because he really has been one of those players that has, really kept us in a lot of games this season. He's allowed us to, bring in 3 points after some games after an incredible season. So, he wasn't even one of my players that I was even contemplating on. Because for me, in my mind, I've never, really seen Schmeichel as an underrated player, because he's always been there, to bring us out of a game that we maybe shouldn't have won, or, so. But no, it's a great point.
I think Kasper Schmeichel's got to be up there, because some of the saves he's pulled.
Is there any? Well, I hope I hand over to you, Anne. Anybody that you think would be considered your underrated player of the year?
Save in a cup final than that. That was as good as scoring a goal at the other end. And then also, I don't know, it was going a while back. When we beat Liverpool at at home, that save from Firmino from about a yard out, rock solid fist. And it's like the amount of those that he pulls off. If he was playing at a Liverpool or a United, you'll see compilations of him all over Twitter and stuff. So he's absolutely brilliant. He's a leader at the back, and I think that's massively underrated within the young team that we've got. But I'm not going to go with him. I'm going to go with Johnny Evans.
Yeah, there's a couple of others. Johnny Evans is one of them. Alex, any thoughts on Johnny Evans? Because again, maybe Leicester fans don't write him off as much, but I think other people thought, oh, he's Deadwood. But he's been phenomenal, not just for this season, for last season as well. But specifically for this season, what are your thoughts on Johnny Evans for underrated player of the year?
Evans is a workhorse. He is the general in the back. Without Evans, we've all seen what the back four or the back three looks like. It looks like lost. It looks like a group of lost puppies that have no idea what is going on. Evans really is that leader there. He really dictates. He shows everybody where they need to go, and they just look more fluid when Evans is there. And I think for City fans, I don't think a lot of us. I think we all recognize how important Evans is to the squad. There is a few that are very much set in their ways and believe that Fofana and CNC are the two that should be playing. They're mistaken, but we'll go from there. But there's a lot of fans, throughout the Premier League that really, I don't think believe that Evans does what he does. And I think this season, when he hasn't played, a lot of clubs have been like, whoa, Evans is really important. And when he does play, everyone's like, yeah, he's incredibly important to this club. And I think it just shows you, even in the last few games when, he was battling injury.
Yeah, and again, he's one that's there as well as Schmeichel. I want to give it to one. I want to say one more player that's going to definitely poke both of your minds, because this award, I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter when we put it up. This award was the closest by quite a lot, because there's so many underrated players. Obviously, Fofana gets the headlights and things like that. Mark Albrighton and Mark Albrighton, I'll hand over to you. We've people don't like him at times. I don't get it, but at the same time, he's done phenomenally well, hasn't he? And what are your thoughts on Mark Albrighton this season? So I know Alex is actually. Do you want to answer briefly, because Alex is bursting a gut to say something?
He's come and done really well as a squad player. He's played left wing back, right wing back. He's played on both wings. So I think just for his versatility, and you're going to get a shift from him. Like, even if he's going to drop a 1 out of 10 performance, which is very, very rare from him, you still know he's going to be giving 110% by the end of the game. So I think the most impressive thing about him is his work rate.
Over to you, Alex. The floor is yours.
Mark Albrighton, Kevin, he gets so much flack, but like Ant said, he's a workhorse. He's versatile. He's everything you want in a bench player. Even at his age, as he's getting older, he's someone that that can come off the bench and really do whatever you need him to do. If that's a wing back or a winger or whatever, he's there to do it. He can cross, and not always are his crosses as accurate, but he's there and he's reliable. And the fact that you can match him against almost anybody in the Prem, and maybe 1 or 2 times of those 10 times he'll be overtaken, but most times he can hold his ground. And I will definitely say that he gets too much hate within the Leicester City supporters, just because I think everyone expects him to do more. But if you really, slow down and you pay attention to the small things he does, you'll really appreciate him as a player even more, because it's the small things that he does that really allow him to dictate play when he's really on his game. And when he's even not on his game, he's still going to bring 120%. And he'll bring that work rate and that determination more times than some players will bring in their entire career, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree there. I'm just going to go over to the 3, because, again, I put 3 up, and it was the 3 that, again, we mentioned just now. Kasper Schmeichel, Johnny Evans, and Mark Albrighton. Again, the votes were so close for this one as time of recording. Kasper Schmeichel gets 26.7% of the votes. Mark Albrighton gets 35.6%. and Johnny Evans gets 37.8. So incredibly close. I actually had to refresh this because it was, I can't remember the exact statistic, but the two were on the exact same amount of points. And I was like, I can't get a draw, even though they both kind of deserve a draw because it was so close. But yes, underrated player. I think, would we agree, guys? Would you give it to Johnny Evans or would you give it to Mark or Brian? And over to you first, one or the other.
I would give it to Johnny Evans because I think it's just, he's one of those players, like, yes, you see how good he is when he plays, but you don't realise how influential he is until he's not there.
Yeah. And over to you, Alex.
I'll say Evans for fans of other Premier League clubs when they don't recognize how much he does, and then when they do. But I will still say Albrighton when it comes to supporters within Leicester City, because I don't think they realize how much he actually does.
Yeah, and it's a really tight one, but I think I'm going to have to go with Mark Albrighton as well, just for the fact that, remember, there was a certain amount of points where he's been a game changer and has not been spoken about. So many opportunities where he's come on the pitch of, right, okay, we're going to put in a corner. We've scored from a corner. It's pretty much been all he's doing as well. So we'll give that to Mark Albrighton. And if you disagree with us, leave it in the comments down below. We will love to discuss with you. So thank you so much. On to our next award, the best assist of the season. So there is quite a few to choose from. We've scored quite a few goals. I can see Alex's face as having to think about it in a while. Anyway, we've got somebody. We've got Ant's not to because I told him when we were in person about this award because I genuinely couldn't think of too many. So the one that I've got first is going to be JT for this one, who's going to tell us who he thinks is the assist of the season.
Hey guys, for my assist of the season, I want to choose a goal that helped propel us to the success that we've seen this year, along with showing quality above all the others. That's why I'm choosing Yuri Tielemans' no-look assist versus Brighton on March 6th, where he played a sublime ball that barely escaped the sliding challenge of Lewis Dunk to reach Kelechi Iheanacho, the senior man, who lifted the ball up over the keeper and into the back of the net to help lead us to 3 points on the day. This was in a part in the season where points were very difficult to come by. And these 3 points really helped solidify our challenge to the top 4 and an overall successful league campaign. Thanks for having me on, guys. Cheers.
Thank you, JT, for that one. Again, that's a hell of a suggestion. And you first, what do you think of, again, that was a fantastic assist. I remember watching it. I didn't appreciate it in real time, but when you slowed it down and when the replay, I was like, oh, this is something special.
Yeah, there's a couple that I've got, but I've got one that just makes me laugh, which is Kabak against Liverpool, letting Vardy run into the empty net. And then, yeah. Well, I don't know if that's Kabak or Alisson. I don't know who you want to play for that one. Or Ndidi against Burnley for the Holly over the top to Iheanacho. That was because we were playing absolutely horrendously that game, and it was just a long ball forward that didn't look like much, but it just split the defence open.
That Nigerian connection was special. But over to you, Alex. You've got 2 of them. The thing is, there's not been that many unbelievable assists, but them 2, I think, are fantastic. What are your thoughts, and who do you think should win? And just let us know.
So JT said it perfectly. That one is incredible. I am still going to stick to one. I did mention it previously because of the impact that it had, not only for the club, but just for like all of Leicester. It's the Luke Thomas, pass to Yuri Tielemans. Without that pass for Yuri to score the, game-winning goal in the FA Cup, we could be talking about something completely different. So, it's such a small piece to a game that, when we talk about the FA Cup, and us winning, we're always going to focus on Yuri Tielemans with an absolute incredible goal. But if Luke Thomas passes that ball and it's off just by a little bit, we're not talking about this goal. So it's such a small impact in like the grand scheme of things. But I really do believe that it's small, but I'm going to stick with Luke Thomas's simplistic pass over to Yuri Tielemans for the FA Cup winning goal.
It is a great moment, but I don't know about you, Ant. It's such a good moment. I agree with what you're saying, but I can't give it the assist of the season with them too.
No, the thing is, the build up to the goal, it was such a basic pass, but you would expect him to make it. But because of the circumstances around the goal, that's what makes it special, not the pass itself.
Yeah, and so I think I think for that, and we're gonna overall. So who would you? But anyway, what would you say would be your underrated, that your the best assist of the season?
I'm going to go with Ndidi against Burnley because it was just the fact of we looked absolutely nowhere in that game either, and it was just like a moment of brilliance out of nowhere.
Okay, we're all divided then, because I think Alex is going to go for the Luke Thomas, and I'm going to go for Yuri Tillemans, because I think that pass was a drop ball moment. You know, the only no-look pass again was the Jamie Vardy 11th goal, and that reminded me of that, and just for the complete assist. But again, so it's up to you guys. Leave it in the comments down below. Which one do you think will be the key? Again, we're all tied on this one. We'll get your comments in down below. Which one do you think? Because we want to hear your thoughts, and also we can come back in a couple of weeks' time with the final result, because we all look tied up here. Anyway, we'll move on to the next award, which is best team goal. This is slightly different from best goal of the season. There's been some amazing strikes, and there's going to be a lot to choose from. But we're going to go to specifically the best team goal, which is a good passage of play. So you think about last season, I think the award went to, can't remember the exact one, but if you think about the Crystal Palace, the 2-0 that we got for Demarai Gray doing a good through ball, and Jamie Vardy finished it off. Not necessarily the best finish, but the best build-up play from the team as well. You'll be able to see the statistics lined up anyway, but I will get in Mr. Austin for this one as well to share his views on this. So let's get him in and get his thoughts.
So out of all the team goals this season, I think the best team goal this season was Jamie Vardy's beautiful flick over Ederson for the second goal of the game against Manchester City, his second of the game. It was a beautiful play started by Marti, gave it to Castagna, played a beautiful 1-2 into Yuri Tillemans, who gave it right back to him down to the edge of the box, who then crossed it over to Vardy, who did what he does and just flicked it right over Ederson. It was such a magnificent goal for one of the best games that we had this season.
A little bit of lag there, but over to you, Ant. Is that what you think is the best team goal, or can you think of any more?
I'm going to go with Tielemans' goal in the FA Cup quarter-final against Man United. Because wasn't there something like 35 passes in that move or something that Jeff Peters put on Twitter and stuff, where we looked like the attack was going nowhere. We worked it all the way back to the defence and then passed it around Matic in the midfield and completely opened up the United defence with Tielemans driving through the middle. I
didn't even think of that one, but that's a great shout. And only once you mentioned Jeff Peters, then it clicked into gigs. I remember you sharing the comments. Alex, over to you. Would you agree there, or is there anyone else that you could think of? Because I remember you seeing you scratching your head, but if you want, I've got 2 others as well as the Jamie Vardy that I could mention as well.
You know what? Like, the biggest thing is about this is that there's so many goals that have to go through your head. So you're going through the Rolodex of like, okay, who passed it to who did what? And so I really like answer. I didn't even think about that one. It was just like a constant, like it was a pass fest. And, just at the end of it all, with Yuri getting the goal, I think I didn't even think about that one. And now that I actually bring it up in my memory box, it was a great team play. And we were rewarded in the end with a goal. So I'm going to agree with Ant on this one.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great one. The other 2 that I've got down obviously I've got the Jamie Vardy back heel, because again, the move that Austin was talking about, I think he nailed it perfectly. Mendy and Tielemans playing alongside, then Castagna, and the beautiful chip to finish it off. The other one that I've got as well was Pratt for 3-0 against Braga. Remember where Braga kind of down tools at 80 minutes and they just weren't in the game? If you go back and watch it on the Europa League, it's a phenomenal build-up play from the midfield, going from Maddison, I think, over to the wing, to Kelechi and Nacho, then over to, because I think we won 4-0 in the end as well, after just beating Leeds 4-0, I think, in the previous week or so. That was a good one. The other good one I remember as well was just for the simplicity was Arsenal away, where Jamie Vardy takes that goal and smashes it past their goalkeeper, I think Bert Leno. The passage of play where Tielemans hitting it over, Under running over to the right, and then just a simple tap in. But the fact that's the moment we were looking for, and that's the team at full tilt. Under was playing fantastically on that right hand side. He'd just come on. Jamie Vardy, the fact that he's just come on, he goes, right, I know my role. Them two as well. And over, I've given you two of them. Anything you would want to add to them, or any other comment on them two as well?
No, I think both of those were brilliant goals in their own right. But I think, as I said before, just the amount of sort of play that went into that Tielemans goal, the fact that we had to recycle the ball back to the centre backs, and the fact that United were sitting in deep, and the fact when we broke through their midfield and passed it in between the lines and stuff, it was absolutely brilliant play. And I think as well the fact that that was the goal that really sent us to Wembley for the semi-final. That is absolutely huge goal, and for me, I think that is our best team goal of the season.
Yeah. Over to you, Alex. Any other thoughts on them two goals, or are you still sticking with your answer?
I'm going to lock in with my answer. Kind of like what Ant said, those two other options, in respect to both goals, great team performances and great team plays. But I think at the end of the day, I got to stick with what Ant's original answer was with the Tielemans goal. Just what an incredible team performance just to get a goal at the end of it all. So I'm going to stay with that one.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Again, I think I will agree. I think that's a great build-up of play. However, I think I'm going to go for the Jamie Vardy back heel because of the 5-2 against Man City. However, I'll have to concede this one. Again, if you've got any thoughts, leave in the comments down below. We'll try and get back to you and get your thoughts. If we've missed any more, because again, it's been a long old season, ladies and gentlemen. It really, really has. So again, the Man City 5-2 doesn't feel like this season. It feels like that long ago, and just to the consequences. Anyway, but we'll give it to the Tielemans goal for the 2-0, I think it was, for the FA Cup quarter-final. Right, over to the result of the season. I've not got any videos for this one, but this is for the best result of the season. Not just in terms of goals scored, but also in terms of what it meant to the fans. So there's multiple, but they're kind of putting them up against one another. For this one, I just want to go on in terms of results and what the result meant at the time. So over to you, Anne. What was your result of the season?
I think there's only one real answer, isn't it? 1-0 in the FA Cup against Chelsea.
Yeah, there's that one. But anyway, over to you, Alex. What was your result of the season?
So that one, the FA Cup is the guaranteed winner. I don't think there's anything that will come close this season to, result at, what everyone's emotion was at the end of that game. I think two games to mention, though, would be the Man City victory 5-2 win. Because that was the game that we didn't expect. We really didn't expect much. I remember sitting there being like, we're playing Man City. I don't really see us coming out. I was with a Jamie Vardy hat trick. Maddison got the screamer of a goal that game as well. It was an incredible game. And then I would say the second game was our comeback against Liverpool. We were down and out, and we just kind of came out of nowhere. And I think that was the one game I literally lost it. My wife was quite concerned because I was running around the living room screaming my head off because I couldn't believe it. So, FA Cup is going to be the guaranteed winner in this situation, but I think those two are mentionable results, especially with how they turned out.
Yeah, I'll say that them two. Again, there's for this one, there was multiple. I've got as well, this is 5-2. I've got Leicester 4-2 Burnley, because that one was a big result in terms of some of the players that played. And just a big result in general. I'm putting in some of the highest scoring as well as some of the most memorable. Another one I've got down is Leicester 4, Braga 0. Remember, we were playing them at home and we were looking right. These guys had knocked out Wolves in the Europa League before. So we're thinking, we're going to be good. And they just didn't play well. And we managed to score 4 past them, which I thought was fantastic. As you guys mentioned already, Leicester 3, Manchester United 1. The fact that we were written off going into that match, that, Manchester United are bound to get through. And the fact that we won by 3-1, again, phenomenal scenes. And another one that I've got down, Manchester United 1, Leicester 2, where Leicester City, towards the end of the season, we was just, I remember we did the live stream afterwards, Alex, where we were just going, oh my God, we've got every emotion over the sun. It wasn't the best result in terms of scoreline, but what it meant at the time was amazing. Just over to you, Alex, on your thoughts on any of them.
Yeah, do you know what? Like, it's kind of like the other one with like the team performance goal. Like, there's so many performances. There's a lot of games this year, and it's been a long season, as you've said.
It really has.
Like, I was actually like thinking about it. I'm like, okay, how many games have I watched, and when did we start watching these games? And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's been a long year, you know. So trying to go through my head, and the two that really stuck out were the Man City and the Liverpool games. But like you said, the Man United 3-1 win. There's Burnley the Burnley 4-3 win. They're games that probably in the moment I was ecstatic, even if our play wasn't entirely the best. I'm still gonna have to stick with my gut and say the FA Cup winning, because like everyone lost their minds, but I am still gonna my second and my third would still probably be Man City 5-2 and then the Liverpool comeback, because those in my mind are still incredible games, even to memory.
Yeah, and just had to get them in, just in terms of mentioning, in terms of high scoring. And I don't know if I remember to mention this. The Leicester City 1, Leeds 4, playing a back 4 or back 5 of Luke Thomas, Christian Fuchs, Wesley Fofana through the middle, James Justin one side, and Mark Albright in the other. That's our back 5, and we somehow managed to put 4 past them. Absolutely amazing result. But yes, I'm in agreement with you. I had to just list a couple of other, because there's been some fantastic results as well. But yes, we're going to have to just give it to the 1-0. If you've got any more thoughts on that, Alex. Anne, because there's been some good results this season, but in terms of what it means, there's only one that really matters.
Yeah, the FA Cup one was undoubtedly a big one. But going back to the Liverpool one, that was one that I think was sort of symbolic of how far we've come this year, because I can't remember the last time before that where we didn't bend over for them. So the fact that we stuck in the game, and at one point we were unlucky not to go in at half time 1-0 up, because I'm pretty sure Vardy hit the crossbar just before half time. But the fact that we went 1-0 down and then still showed the character to come back and win 3-1 is absolutely huge. So I was like, for me, I always say this because I've got a lot of Scousers in my family. A win over Liverpool is always particularly special. But you're never going to beat the FA Cup final. But you can have that most seasons, and that will be the winner of this. I can only think of one game where I'd argue that it was bigger, and that would be during the Premier League winning season. So apart from that, the FA Cup's untouchable.
Yes, and I think we could do a whole we did do a whole episode on that, a couple of videos on that, but we'll definitely during the summer reflect on that a little bit more as well. But there can only be one result for that, which is the 1-0 win at Wembley against Chelsea, Leicester City winning the FA Cup. Moving on to the next one, which is a big one, goal of the season. Now, there are so many contenders. This is one of the ones where I was thinking, oh, but this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. Let me just play two. I've got Rich and Glenn for you to share their thoughts while you guys think about it as well. I'll get their thoughts up, and then you can see, and then you have a think about what it is, because I've got a few just written down as is. But we'll go to Glenn first and see what he says.
For my goal of the season, I'm going to give this to a player that I thought was going to have an absolutely remarkable season from start to finish, but unfortunately it was cut short with injury. I'm talking, of course, about JJ Stormer against Stoke. It was the first goal in our FA Cup campaign. He took it on the left in line with the box, looked to go outside, cut inside two Stoke defenders and unleashed his shot from about 20 yards out, right onto the postage stamp. Not that I need to describe it for any of you lot, because you all know exactly what goal that I'm going on about. More of that to come next season. Oh, you better believe that too. Come on, Leicester.
And so that's an awesome, as usual, from Glenn. And then before we go on to it, one little one I want to go on to is from Rich as well and get his thoughts.
In regards to the goal, I mean, anyone that doesn't pick Tielemans' FA Cup final goal is mental. So that's the one for me. It just, the occasion is enough anyway. And then when you add the the perfectly executed long distance strike. Yeah, it's definitely the one. But anyway, thanks for having me on again, guys, and look forward to being back on next season. Bye.
So again, we've got two very, very good shouts there. Over to you, Alex, first. Is there any more you want to go for? What are your thoughts initially? Because again, there's been some absolutely brilliant goals this season.
Yeah, Glenn and Rich both hit the nail right on the head. The Justin goal was fantastic. Just the way that, he scored it. And then, Rich is right, perfect as well. Yuri's goal is, not only is it the game-winning goal to win us the FA Cup, but it was an absolutely incredible goal. My goal of this season, though, because I am going to choose a different one, is Luke Thomas's goal in the 2-1 victory over Man United. Because not only the positioning of the goal and how where he scored from and where the ball ended up in the net, but if you watch the play, he pushes Vardy off, saying he's got it. And I don't know how many 19-year-old players are gonna look at a player like Vardy and be like, "Hey, I got this," and then score the way he did. So I'm gonna give it to Luke Thomas.
It's one of my list as well. And any other thoughts on that? Because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 contenders for this one. Because again, there's been some absolutely phenomenal goals. Which again, this is a couple of weeks worth of preparation. As I just remember the season goes on. But any other thoughts, or any other goals, or any other thoughts?
Well, we've scored some absolute crackers this year, and that comes with the way that Brendan Rodgers likes us to play football. But one that I think that we haven't mentioned, it's not going to be my winner, but I think it's definitely within a shout, is Iheanacho's against Crystal Palace. How he found the goal from there, absolutely ridiculous strike. But for me, it's got to be the winning goal of the FA Cup. And I know I keep referring everything this season to this, but just the strike was brilliant. And I don't think you're going to see a better strike to win a final. But it was also the reaction of the fans adds so much to a goal. And just like the moment we hit the net, like the fans go absolutely mental. That just makes any goal 10 times better. But the fact of how good that goal was as well, just everything about everything added together, and I think that has got to be the goal of the season.
It is, again, there's so many to go through that I think you're right. It's one of the ones I've got down. Another two to mention, James Maddison against Man City away, where he managed to smash Everton. But then another one that I've got, you mentioned the Iheanacho one. Iheanacho against Burnley, the assist that you were saying, and that the goal coming over his shoulder. It just, again, is another absolute brilliant goal. Sorry, you were saying? And you were saying?
Yeah, that was. The technique for that's just ridiculous as well. Just the fact that how he beat Nick Pope with that, it was absolutely incredible technique, and how calm and composed he was.
Yeah, and another one. So, I'll hand over to you briefly, Alex, as well. So, I want to give you two. So, the two James Maddison goals, one against Man City and one against Brighton for I think 3-0 or 2-0, where he was tricking a player, and then he just puts it top bins. I mean, that was fantastic. Either one of the two you want to talk about?
I'm gonna give it to James Madison. James Madison, Man City, because I think no one really expected that, especially in that kind of a game where, like I said beforehand, we weren't really expecting a win against them that game, and just the performance we brought out, and then for Madison to just let out a complete, just jaw-dropping goal. It was just another thing just to put the cherry on top of it all. So I'm gonna stick with that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's some brilliant ones. Another one that I think's been overlooked because it seems so long ago, and we watched this one together. The last goal of Dennis Pratt against Burnley for the 4-2. Remember, he gets the ball and he just fires it into the top corner. I don't know if you remember that, or what your memories of that goal was.
That's mad that that's this season. I thought that was last season. That feels so long ago. But yeah, that was a very, very good strike. And saying about Dennis Pratt, it's going to be a real shame if he does leave in the summer, because I really do think he's got a lot to offer us.
Yeah, I mean, the midfielders look stacked at the moment, but I definitely think that was a brilliant one. We've mentioned this one before, Alex, but just over to you. Vardy's back heel against Man City for the second goal. I mean, do we need to say anything more for that? But that was beautiful within itself.
Yeah, I don't think you really need to say anything other than that. The goals that Vardy did score this season, he had some incredible goals. Not all of them were pretty, but that one sure as heck was.
Yeah, definitely agree there. And the last one I've got, which will get completely forgotten about because he was up there with underrated player of the season, Mark Albrighton against Newcastle for the 4-1. It came out of absolute nowhere. Alex, go. Have a go.
I got one more as well.
Have a go.
Daniel
Yeah, go.
Vardy.
Yes. Ant's favorite player.
Forgot about that one.
You can't love Dan Martin. You can't love the Ghanaian excellence. But it's just, I don't get how such a bang average footballer has managed to rattle so many top six fan bases. It's absolutely incredible.
Which is fine. We'll save that for another award show where we do the banter award show. But for now, I think that goal definitely something, Alex. Yeah, and then go for either one, either the Brighton one or then the Albrighton Newcastle one.
I think Albrighton Newcastle one, just because I said it before with him with Albrighton. He's not given enough credit, so. When he got his goal, it was kind of like one of those like, I told you he was good. Why didn't you trust me on this? So I'm going to give it to Albrighton for that. Yeah,
and again, just to call on that, and I'll go back to you because again, there's so many nominations, and if anybody else has thought of any, leave in the comments below because there's just so many to choose from. But over to you. What would you call your goal of the season this year?
First off, I thought Albrighton's strike in isolation is brilliant, but we're not having a goal when we're 4-2 down to Newcastle at home as our goal of the season. But no, Tielemans just for everything that went around it. And having a crowd, I mentioned it earlier, go off and like absolute limbs, that just adds so much to a goal and compared to just you hear the players celebrating in the corner when it's been empty stadiums. Actually having the fans there celebrating it just added so much to that goal.
It really did. Over to you, Alex. What do you think as well? Do you agree with Anne or any other suggestions?
Yeah. I know I did mention Luke Thomas's goal at the start of this, and part of me wants to just, die on that hill because I'm stubborn. But when it comes to historical goals that no one's ever going to forget, it's going to be the Youri Tielemans goal. Everything's going to come back to the FA Cup. Let's be serious here. Yuri's never going to have to buy a pint in Leicester ever again. So he's royalty there. So, yeah, I'm going to give it to at the end of this, I will gladly tip my hat and give it to Youri here.
Yeah, and I would have to agree. But just over to you, and that was just like the runners-up nominations and things that I should deserve to get a nomination. I agree. I'm not putting a 4-1 loss to Newcastle goal as goal of the season, and no matter how amazing it was, especially if we won the FA Cup this season. However, I think I'd agree. Tielemans with that unbelievable strike is goal of the season. Now moving on to another award, which is kind of a strange one, memory of the season. So this isn't exactly for something that is memorable, but wasn't necessarily a goal or assist. It was a point in time. So I'll give you some examples. Hopefully it'll whet your appetite a little bit. Jamie Vardy kicking the flag 90 plus minutes against Sheffield Wednesday. Jamie Vardy again playing the guitar on for the goal he scored against Liverpool is another example of it. And can you think of any more? I don't want to spoil all of my ones, but have you got any one? I know I've put you on the spot a little bit, but have you got any more?
I've got two, and they're both from the FA Cup final. Daniel Amati in the dressing room with a pennant after the game. Absolutely brilliant. And then Ben Chilwell going to celebrate in the corner, thinking he'd equalise, to then being in tears about 4 minutes later. I'll let you choose between the two of them.
Alex, I've got no comment on them ones. There's again, it's an open topic, so you could pretty much talk about whatever you want. But I'll get some of mine later as well.
So Jamie Vardy jamming out on the guitar with the flag and the pole. I think that was the one that I really did stand up and just lost it because I thought it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Second is, and we'll have a good time at this one. It was when we were facing off against Chelsea in the Premier League game right after the FA Cup, and the whole scrum ensued. And Amarty's the only one that gets the yellow. For some reason, I could not stop laughing. That with all the players, getting all frustrated, there's Amarty just showing up casually, and then once the dust settled, it's like, oh, Daniel Amarty got the yellow card, and I'm like, he's on the bench. How did that even happen? Like, this is amazing. And then Twitter's just blowing up with all the Chelsea fans just getting upset. I'm like, oh man, this is just the greatest thing ever. And I was laughing. Like, I was absolutely dying. I thought it was hilarious. So, for random moments that stick into your head, definitely that's one of them. But for me, the ultimate one will be just, Vardy just jamming out on the guitar, aka, pole, flag, whatever we call it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and he's gonna little moments like that that are special that I wanted to give a special award to. Another one is kind of Iheanacho's "Come on" after the that was for me one of the fantastic. After I think he scored, I don't know if he scored the hat trick or he got through to the finals, but Iheanacho's hat trick is another one for me. I've put down the Vardy just before he got onto the pitch, so downing the can of Red Bull, then scoring against Arsenal. Just summed it up for me. I was like, okay, that is something quite special. And then another one, the final whistle when Leicester beat Man United 2-1. Just and the memory of when they won in the FA Cup, where they just collapsed to their knees in just a celebration and did it. So again, if you're going to have to pick one, and I've just rambled at you about 15 different moments, and because there's been it's never boring. But what would you pick for your one? Because again, you've nominated a few. I've thought of a few. Alex has thought of a few as well. What do you think? What do you pick?
I think you've just got. I'm split between the two that I said because the Chilwell one was just brilliant after slagging the club off the week before, thinking he'd equalised, running over to the corner to then looking depressed as anything about 4 minutes later, or the pennant in the changing rooms afterwards, because as I said earlier, I've never seen such an average footballer rattle so many people. So I'm gonna go with Daniel Amarty in the changing room with pennant just because of the amount of people it rattled.
Over to you, Alex. Any other thoughts on that, or for your standout moment of the season?
Now that you remind me, it's going to be Kelechi Iheanacho's, come on. I'm not going to even attempt to do it because, I don't want to...
I butchered it as is.
Yeah, I don't want to butcher it or ruin anybody's eardrums. But it's just like the sheer, just the absolute, excitement in his voice, and he was just fired up. So that I would definitely... That's one, but my ultimate will be Jamie Vardy just jamming out on the pole. Wow, on the pole after the Liverpool goal. I don't know. Words are hard right now.
It's been a long day, Alex. We'll get there eventually because, again, we're coming up to the last few awards now. But for me, what's more influential was the first one that I put down was Jamie Vardy kicking the flag. I mean, that just for me sums up that was just a massive moment, and the fact that he went over to kick the flag, then he gave it to the Fox's pride as well, which was awesome after all of that. So I thought that was fantastic. Again, we're not looking like we're going to agree on this one, so make sure you leave it in the comments down below. Tell us what you think. Let us know what your awards would be, and if there's any awards that you want to be included in it next year, or we'll do another alternative awards in the summer. Let us know. Right, we've got 3 more just to go on to. The first of the last 3 is best partnerships. So I decided it was best duos, and basically these are 2 players in similar positions that played the best together. So really, I was thinking about this. Okay, who's formed the best partnerships? And over to you. Who do you think has formed a great partnership together this year in the Premier League, or in just for Leicester City?
There's two that instantly spring to mind. So it's Ndidi and Tielemans is that double pivot in the midfield, and then also Iheanacho and Vardy up top. But I do think the fact of just the platform that Ndidi and Tielemans gives for the rest of the team, hoping going both directions, I'm going to go for those, but you could make a strong case for either.
You really can. Any other thoughts, Alex, on that? Because again, them two are really good, and there's two that I've got down on my awards as well.
Okay, so my favorite partnership, one sarcastically would be Jamie Vardy and the corner post and the corner flag. I feel like they make a great partnership. You know, a lot of fans and a lot of players would agree on that one. Secondly, I'm going to make it a trio, because I feel like this is the best way for me. When we finally were able to see it, I really think that Evans, Suyuncu, and Fofana were incredible together. And we talked about it. It seemingly felt like all season because, you know, Kegs was injured, then Evans was injured, then Fofana was injured, and then we got everybody back. But no, Kegs went back down. And it just seemed like nothing was – we were never going to be able to see it. When we finally did see it, the partnership between the three of them was really, really good. The unfortunate part was that the injury bug just wouldn't allow us to watch them play together all the time. But that's just something that I'm looking forward to next season, is just the continued partnership and the continued development between the three of them.
Yeah, that's definitely one as well. Another player that I thought that I've got on the list is Barnes and Thomas as well. Them two on that left-hand side, especially in the Europa League, were linking up really, really well. However, if you had to pick one, and which one would you pick? Because again, I think you made your thoughts clear, but the back three of Evans through the middle, then Sionchu to the left, Fofana to the right was a fantastic shout as well.
I was going to say, with the Barnes and Thomas one, it looked so good when we did see it, but we didn't see it that much because, like, each time we played so many times with different left backs this season, whether that be Justin, I think we saw Ricardo play there occasionally, Castagne, Albrighton, so it was never something that we saw a huge amount of. But I think the reason I've said Ndidi and Tielemans is it's been a mainstay for our team since Ndidi came back from his injury. So I think that has really been the foundation of the success of this season.
Definitely agree. Over to you, Alex. Would that be your final, or would you go for your back three as well?
No, I have to say Tielemans and Ndidi. I wanted to say it at the beginning, but I was like, you know what? I want to argue this just because that's who I am in nature, just someone who's just too stubborn to agree right away. But Ndidi and Tielemans, you know, we've always said that every game usually is dictated within in the midfield, and the work rate and the communication and really much the chemistry between Tielemans and Ndidi is if in my opinion one of the best in football, the way that they communicate. And here I am hoping that Yuri does stay, you know, and hopefully that contract will be sorted out and all these clubs that are looking at him will stay away, because I really think that what Yuri and what Ndidi have together is something special, and I think it's just going to continue to grow. And I think next season, if we are very fortunate to actually watch it, is going to be just another incredible season in the midfield.
Yeah, I totally agree, and especially with adding the likes of Dennis Pratt's in there, James Maddison could drop in there a little bit. Samore, who looks like he's pretty much signed at the moment. I mean, that midfield is just stacked at the moment. Mendy as well. Again, the 5-2 against Man City, them two played so well together. But yeah, I'd have to agree as well in terms of the best duo. I mean, I think Ant was telling a statistic, I can't remember, but when them two have played together, it's just been a solid rock in the midfield. So we'll have to give it to that. We have to give it to Ndidi and Tielemans. But second to last award, again, we're getting on a little bit, but second to last award, best debut. So this is going to be for the person that had the best initial game for the club. First game they've ever played for the first team. And any suggestions, or because I've got a few if you like as well.
I think there's one that springs to mind instantly is Castagne, because against West Brom, he scored, he got man of the match, But before he played that game, there was a lot of question marks about sort of who and why we signed him. Because when we signed him, I don't think many people realised sort of how versatile he was, including myself and stuff. And we'd seen Chilwell go to Chelsea, and then Castagne coming in. There was a lot of question marks. But to go and put in a performance like that first game of the season, I think it really settled him down. So for me, I think he couldn't have had a much better debut if he tried.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Alex, over to you. Any others, or would you agree as well? Or
I'm gonna have to agree with Ant here. Castagna, against the game with West Brom, I think what Ant said was perfect. I think we didn't really fully know what we were going to get out of him, and that was the big thing. There's question marks around him. We didn't know about his versatility, and we didn't really know what we were going to get out of him. His play on and off the ball. So the fact that he was able to score on his first game here in Leicester, and then win, get the man of the match is a statement, and it really just dictated what we kind of saw throughout the season with him. Even though he battled through injury, when he came back, he really was pivotal to this team. And I'm really happy with that signing, and I'm looking forward to his performances next season in Europe and in England in the Prem. It's going to be exciting for him to watch, for us to watch him again.
I think so too. And yeah, the other two that I've got is Fofana against Aston Villa, where he had to come on, I think, because Sionchu went off with an injury. So Fofana was like dropped straight and he goes, here you go. The other person that I have got that I think we've forgotten about a little bit, who had also a man of the match performance, was Daly Campbell against Brighton. He only played that one game, but he got a man of the match performance, in my opinion. And I think BBC Radio Leicester, Matt Piper, gave him man of the match as well. But I think we can all agree for that. And I think, coming back to what you were saying, Anne, I think he got an assist as well. So I think he got an assist, a goal, and a man of the match. And you can't really top that, to be honest, especially since he's a defender as well. He's a right back. So we're going to have to give it to Castagna for this one, unless I think you two are in agreement as well, right?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, but if you guys have any thoughts, leave them in the comments below. We'll try and get to them. And if you've got any more of them, make sure you leave them in the comments below. Anyway, the big one, the one that we've all been waiting for, the final one, player of the season. I mean, there has been some unbelievable performances and unbelievable players that have lasted the season. A lot of them have been injured, let's face it. But, and over to you, who would be your player of the season? Because, my God, this is one of the hardest ones to choose from as well.
For me, it's going to be Yuri Tielemans. Obviously, he got the most iconic moment of the season. He's been consistent throughout the season as probably one of our top performer in the league. He's played more minutes than anyone bar Schmeichel this season. He's just been absolutely brilliant for 95% of the season. And please don't leave us for Liverpool. We really need him next year. I'm begging that he stays, because I think if
Yeah, sorry, cut off a little bit there, but Alex, I mean, anything else to add? Because he's just this year he's raised his level so much, but he's definitely one of the players to mention, isn't he?
It's hard to argue with Ant on this one, because Yuri, what he did this season was lights out, one of the best performances I've seen from a player in a while. But I'm gonna have to put my own player in, because you know how I operate. I'm going to say Kasper Schmeichel. And that might raise a couple eyebrows. It might not, but I'm going to put him there because, we were discussing him being the most underrated player, and less recognized. And, but I really think that, he came up with some incredible saves this season. And I pretty much can guarantee you I would lose fingers on the amount of times that he saved our butts. And let's not forget the incredible save, in the FA Cup final. He really was at the top of his game this season. Yeah, he let in a few stinkers. Every keeper does. But, I really do believe that, if we were looking at possibly a different a different keeper, I think we'd be talking about a different outlook on this season. I really do believe it. I don't think we would be finishing where we were. I don't think we'd be in the FA Cup final. I don't think we would win the FA Cup. I think without Kasper Schmeichel, I think we'd be sitting more in like the 10th position in the table. I don't think we'd make it far in the FA Cup. Europa League would be a different discussion as well. So I'm going to give it to Schmeichel on this one.
Yeah, and he's made, again, you're right. He's made, I've just remembered now, some of the saves he made in the Europa League as well has been fantastic. Again, so a player, there's just so many unbelievable performances. I mean, James Justin could have been up there if he stayed fit all season. I genuinely can believe that, because of his performance and his versatility around playing all that back three positions, playing on the left, playing on the right, and just his performance to get forward, score goals, provide assists has been fantastic. But that injury just killed him, unfortunately. And unfortunately, I think it's the same with Harvey Barnes. I mean, he was really building into this season and was looking to, potentially overtake Jamie Vardy this season with the number of goals he was scoring because of injuries. Another player I've got as well, Kelechi Iheanacho. I know he didn't really turn up for the half of the season, but for what he did in the time that he did, I think is worth a mention as well. And the last one I've got, Wesley Fofana. Wesley Fofana, again, nobody was expecting him to be as good as he was, spending all that 30, 35 million that we were. Absolutely sensational. Johnny Evans, again, is another one that I'd like to mention, but there's so many. But I think we're all in agreement here. It has to be Yuri Tillemans, doesn't it, Ant?
Yeah, I think, as you say, we've had some brilliant performances. Well, brilliant players' performances throughout the season, but there's no one who's been consistent the whole way through the season like Yuri Tillemans has, and having so many incredible moments, like the quarter-final goal against Man United, but obviously the final goal and the assist against Brighton, just off the top of my head. There's so many moments that you can look at from this year for Yuri Tillemans. And it's not just the performances. He's a leader in the middle of the park. For a player who's so young, he's so experienced and such a big voice within our team. So I think it's crucial. I'll keep saying it. He's our player of the season this year, but we need to keep him for next.
Mm-hmm. I genuinely think so as well. And Alex, I think you're in agreement about that one as well, aren't we?
Yeah. You know what? Yuri, what he did and what he has done at such a young age is a statement to his ability and, his untapped potential that I truly believe he still has. I think he has such a high ceiling. It's insane. But I think the biggest thing for us this summer is, what he's done for the club. I think the biggest statement would be for us to be able to hold on to him. Mm-hmm. That's huge because, we can talk about what he's done for us, but I want to be able to talk about what he can do for us next season. I don't want to talk about how, this is what he did for us this season, but good luck wherever you're going. I want him to be here. I want him to stay here in Leicester, and I want him to make an impact next season and challenge not only in the Europa League, but in the Premier League. And I want to see us get to the Champions League next season.
And hopefully not just next year, hopefully for many years to come as well, because he's that awesome. But yeah, that concludes the awards. I'd just like to give a special mention to somebody we haven't mentioned, because Brendan Rodgers, having to adapt his tactics, having to adapt his philosophies, having to pick the players up when, for example, we had that the horrible defeat against 3-1 against Arsenal, and just feeling down, he managed to rank up the team again. I want to give a shout out to Susan Whelan and John Rudkin as well, just for the way they've handled the club, and obviously with a couple of the COVID parties in the men's and women's games, and the way that they went about that business has been phenomenal, as well as a special moment for me as well was that we're the only club to get rid of PPE. So pay-per-view, I don't know if Alex was much aware of it, but they were trying to charge, I can't remember, like £10 a game or something, and it was just stupid. And we were the only club to do that as well. And then just Mark Albright for adapting his corners and free kicks and not just getting his head down and whipping the ball in all the time. He's adapting his game and he's learning. And I think he's got 6 assists this year and 2 goals, which has been sublime. But anyway, that concludes the awards. It's been a long one, but hopefully you've enjoyed this one. We'd like to say thank you to everybody that's been on the show so far, whether you were an opposition fan, whether you support our club, all the people. There's so many to name. I can't even, for the previews, for the players, people like Alex, Glenn. I want to give a shout out to obviously the people that we've reached out to, Dan as well, JT, Austin. We could honestly go on and on. Hannah and James, obviously, will on behalf of them, they want to say thank you as well for all that you've helped grow the channel since this time as well. But yeah, if you've made this far, fantastic. I mean, well done to you guys. Hit that like and subscribe button. We really, really appreciate it. And we'll see everybody for the next video. Make sure you save, subscribe, make sure notifications are on. You won't want to miss this one this summer. It's going to be a great one. We'll see everybody in the next one. So goodbye.